Imagine standing in the crisp autumn air of Arlington National Cemetery, where the leaves whisper secrets to the wind, and every stone tells a story of sacrifice. The tomb of the unknown soldier gleams under a pale October sun, its white marble etched with the weight of a nation's gratitude. And right there in the heart of it all, a single soldier stands guard, unblinking, unmoving, a living monument to the fallen. Now picture this. A king from across the pond steps into that sacred space, not just to pay respects, but to test the very soul of American resolve. What happens when crowns meet conviction? When tradition clashes with the unbreakable spirit that built this country? Buckle up, folks, because this isn't just a story. It's a moment that reminds us why we stand tall. Rain or shine, king or no king. A day when Arlington didn't just hold its ground, it redefined it. Before we dive into this story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe that values like honor, courage, and sacrifice still matter, join us in keeping their legacy alive. The afternoon sun hung low over the PTO, casting long shadows across the rows of white headstones that stretched like silent sentinels into the distance. Arlington wasn't just a cemetery. It was America's conscience, a place where the echoes of battles from Gettysburg to Kabul still lingered in the air. Tourists milled about quietly, families from Ohio, veterans from Texas, a few wide-eyed kids clutching maps like treasure hunts. The air smelled of damp earth and fallen leaves, that sharp tang of fall that always feels like a promise of something deeper. And at the center of it all, the tomb, flanked by amphitheater seats empty, saved for a handful of dignitaries. It waited like a challenge. Sergeant Alex Rivera had been here before. At 28, with a build honed from endless drills and desert patrols, he was the picture of quiet strength, 6'2", dark hair cropped short under his helmet, eyes like polished obsidian that missed nothing. Born in El Paso to parents who'd crossed the border chasing the American dream, Alex carried more than his rifle. Tucked inside his uniform was a faded photo of his older brother, Marco, grinning in fatigues before a roadside bomb in Helmand took him at 25. Marco had always said, "In this country, me, Hermano, we don't kneel to shadows, we stand in the light." That promise had pulled Alex through Ranger School, through the dust-choked nights in Afghanistan, and now into the third year of his tour as a tomb guard. The Society of the Honor Guard, those elite few who walk the mat 24/7, 365 days a year, rain, sleet, or scorching summer haze. No flinching, no distractions, just duty. Today, Alex's boots hit the black mat in perfect rhythm. 21 steps forward, 21 back, precisely 21 seconds to turn and face the tomb again. His rifle, a ceremonial M14, rested easy in his gloved hands, bayonet fixed like a vow. The crowd watched in hushed awe as the changing of the guard unfolded, a ritual as old as the tomb itself, born from World War I, when the unknowns from France were laid to rest. But beneath that precision, Alex's mind wandered to Marco. "You'd laugh at this, bro. He thought me playing statue for tourists, but hell if it honors you." Off to the side, the Thompson family settled into the front row. Dad Harlan, 82, and wiry as a fence post, leaned on his cane, the poppy from his World War II Pacific campaign, still pinned to his lapel. "See that, Jake?" he murmured to his 12-year-old grandson, voice gravelly from years of Kansas wheat fields. "That's what real heroes look like. Not the capes on TV, just a man in his word." Jake, all freckles and curiosity, nodded wide-eyed while Mom Sarah squeezed Harlan's hand. She'd heard these stories 1,000 times, but today, with the chill nipping at her cheeks, they felt fresh. "Grandpa, does it ever rain on them?" Jake whispered. Harlan chuckled softly. "Son, they've stood through hurricanes. Ain't no storm bigger than what's inside." The ceremony hummed along, the relief commander inspecting Alex's gear with a nod. Rifle clean, uniform starch, stance unbreakable. Then a murmur rippled through the amphitheater. Black SUVs rolled up the hill, flags snapping in the breeze. Union Jack alongside Old Glory. Word spread quick. His Majesty King Charles III on a state visit post-G20 summit, honoring the alliance with a wreath laying at the tomb. Charles stepped out, 76 but ramrod straight, his dark suit impeccable, a row of medals glinting like stars on his chest. Flanked by aides and a British attaché, he moved with that effortless royal poise, waving politely to the crowd. Cameras clicked, but the air thickened. This wasn't just a photo op. Charles had a curiosity about American ways, especially after years of toasting Churchill and Roosevelt. Fascinating, these guardians, he said to his aide, voice carrying that clipped Oxford lilt. So stoic, quite unlike our chaps at the palace who manage a discreet bow now and then. Colonel Elena Hayes, 45, commanding the guard with the steel of her own lineage, her father a Tuskegee airman who'd flown over Anio, greeted him at the base of the steps. African-American roots ran deep in her veins from Alabama sharecroppers to West Point grads, and she wore her uniform like armor. "Your Majesty," she said, saluting crisp, "welcome to Arlington. The tomb honors our unknowns from every conflict. Sergeant Rivera here embodies that watch." Charles nodded, eyes twinkling with genuine interest. "Splendid. I've read about your sentinels. Unyielding. They say in our ceremonies at Buckingham, the guards offer a knee to the crown, a nod to centuries of service. Perhaps your man could demonstrate a touch of that reciprocity for the alliance. Elena's smile held steady, but her eyes sharpened. "Sir, our tradition is different. They stand for equality under the flag. No kneeling, no exceptions. It's about the soldier, not the spectator." The crowd leaned in, sensing the shift. Harlan Thompson muttered to Sarah, "Here we go. Royals and their bows. Back in 44 we didn't kneel too." Jake's eyes darted between the king and Alex, who hadn't missed a beat in his patrol. Charles, undeterred, adjusted his cufflinks and stepped closer to the rope line, his aides hovering like a shadow. "Just a gesture, Colonel. A salute to shared blood spilled from Normandy to the Bulge." Elena hesitated, protocol dancing on a knife's edge. Foreign dignitaries paid respects, but this skirted the line. "Still, for diplomacy's sake, Sergeant Rivera," she called softly, "halt your post. His Majesty requests a ceremonial acknowledgement." Alex froze mid-stride, rifle at port arms facing the tomb. The amphitheater went pin-drop quiet, and in that beat, Charles leaned forward, voice warm but expectant. "Sergeant, if you would, a knee perhaps, to honor the bond between our thrones and your stars." The words hung there, light as a diplomat's quip, but heavy as history. Alex didn't twitch, didn't blink. His chest rose steady, the only sign of life in a statue carved from resolve. The crowd held its breath. Harlan gripped his cane tighter. "That's my boy," he whispered. But the pause stretched, and Charles's smile faltered just a hair. What came next would echo far beyond those marble walls. The silence stretched like a taut wire across the amphitheater, the kind that makes your skin prickle. Alex Rivera stood there, boots rooted to the mat, the weight of his rifle suddenly feeling like the anchor of every promise he'd ever made. King Charles, ever the picture of composure, tilted his head slightly, that royal eyebrow arching in mild surprise. "Come now, Sergeant," he pressed, his voice carrying just enough warmth to mask the edge. "It's a simple courtesy. In London, our lads drop a knee without a fuss. Tradition binds us after all. A nod to the Queen's memory, to the Empire's debts paid in full." The British aides nodded along, murmuring something about harmonious protocol, but Elena Hayes stepped in, smooth as silk, her voice a velvet blade. "With respect, Your Majesty, Arlington's watch isn't about hierarchies. It's flat-out American. Every man, woman, and child under that flag stands equal. No crowns, no capes, just duty." But Charles, fueled by that spark of curiosity that had driven him through polo fields and palace intrigues, wasn't one to back down easily. He'd spent a lifetime navigating the pomp of Windsor, where a bow could seal alliances or soothe scandals. "Quite right, Colonel. Yet alliances thrive on gestures, don't they? A shared incline, perhaps, for the cameras, for the folks back home watching on the telly." He gestured vaguely to the press pool, where lenses zoomed like hungry hawks. The Thompsons shifted in their seats. Jake tugged at Harlan's sleeve. "Grandpa, is the king asking him to bow like in those night movies?" Harlan's eyes narrowed, jaw set like the day he'd stormed Rawa. "No, son. Knights bowed to kings. Our boys, they stand for the people. Watch and learn." Alex's mind, meanwhile, had slipped way back to the sun-baked hell of Kandahar, summer of 2018. The memory hit him like a dust storm, unbidden but sharp. He could hear it now, the thump of rotors chopping the air, Marco's voice crackling over the radio. "Rivera, cover left, RPG nest at 2A. They'd been humping it through waist-deep boots, sucking in the sand when the world exploded. Shrapnel whistled like angry hornets, and Marco, big laughing. Marco, with the tattoo of the Alamo on his forearm, took the brunt. Alex dragged him 200 yards under fire, blood soaking his sleeves, whispering, "Hang on, Hermono. We're getting you home for Mom's tamales." But Marco's eyes had glazed, his hand clutching Alex's collar. "Listen, kid. Don't you ever kneel to fear or kings or any damn thing that ain't worth your spine. Stand tall for me, for all of us who can't." The medevac never made it in time. Alex woke up in Walter Reed, metal pinned to his chest, but the hole in his soul stayed raw. Back on the mat, that echo fueled him. His grip tightened on the rifle, gloves creaking faint, the only sound breaking the hush. Charles took a half-step closer, crossing the velvet rope with the casual grace of someone who'd strolled Versailles Gardens. Protocol be damned. This was personal now. "Sergeant, you're a fine figure of a man. Reminds me of our grenadiers, tall and true, just a wee bow," a nod to the lads who fought shoulder to shoulder at Bastogne. Winston would approve, the crowd murmured, some chuckles from the British contingent, a few uneasy shifts from the Americans. A dad in a Packers jacket leaned to his wife. "Buddy, this ain't the Super Bowl. You don't demand a touchdown." Sarah Thompson shot Harland a look. "He's pushing it, isn't he? Like that time you wouldn't tip your hat to the mayor back home." Harland grunted. "Damn straight. Respect's earned, not ordered." Elena moved in her presence, a calm harbor in the brewing storm. At 45, she'd commanded platoons from Fort Benning to the DMZ. Her father's P-51 stories etched into her bones like flight pass. "Your Majesty," she said, voice steady as a heartbeat monitor. The tomb guard's oath is ironclad, no reaction to weather, wildlife, or visitors. It's not defiance, it's devotion. Sergeant Rivera's watch honors the unknowns, the ones without names or nations bending the knee. Charles paused, absorbing it, his face a mask of thoughtful intrigue. Devotion without display. How very Yankee. In our aisles we layer it thick, curtsies, salutes, the whole theatrical bit. But I see the appeal. Still, for old time's sake, a salute then, or must I petition the president himself? A ripple of laughter broke the tension, light as autumn leaves skittering across the path. Jake giggled, but Harlan shushed him quick. "This here's serious, boy. That's soldiers carrying ghosts on his shoulders." Inside Alex's head, the flashbacks piled on like sandbags. Training at the old guard barracks, dawn runs in sub-zero sleep, instructors barking. You blink, you break the line. You flinch, you fail the dead. He'd logged 1,000 miles in those boots, memorized the tomb's inscriptions. Here rests in honored glory, an American soldier known but to God, until they were tattooed on his tongue. And the family lore, Abuela's tales of the Rio Grande crossing, Pop's of factory shifts in Detroit, Marco's boot camp letters, smelling of ink and hope. "We're builders, Alex," Marco wrote once, "not bowers. Stand like the Rockies, unmovable." Sweat beaded under his helmet now. Not from nerves, but from the fire building low. The king's words washed over him, like radio-static polite noise in a world of real thunder. The aides cleared their throats, sensing the drift. "Sir, perhaps we proceed to the wreath," but Charles waved him off, eyes locked on Alex like a chess master, eyeing a knight. No, let's not rush. This young warrior intrigues me. Tell me, Sergeant, do you ever tire of the stillness? In Afghanistan, I wager you charged hills, not paced mats." It was a probe wrapped in camaraderie, but Alex's protocol held, eyes front, mouth shut. The amphitheater crowd grew, word of the standoff spreading via hush texts. A group of vets in Vietnam jackets clustered near the ropes, one muttering, "Reminds me of Nam," brass pushing grunts holding. A mom with a toddler on her hip pocketed her phone, whispering, "He's not ignoring the king, he's honoring something bigger." Charles pressed on, voice dropping conspiratorial. "You know, my dear boy, I've knelt to popes and presidents alike. It's not weakness, it's wisdom, a bridge between worlds. Your stars and stripes flew high at Yorktown, because we bent together against the redcoats. Fancy a bend for balance?" Elena interjected again, firmer this time. "Sir, bendings for bridges, not guardians. Our traditions forged in fire. No pauses, no panders. Sergeant, resume your post." But Alex didn't budge, not yet. The air crackled, now electric with unspoken stakes. Harlan leaned forward, voice low to Jake. "See that, son? That's the line we draw. Kings come and go. Duty, that's forever." The boy nodded, fist clenched in awe. And just as the tension coiled to snap, Charles leaned in closer, still, his shadow falling across the mat like a gauntlet thrown. "Very well then, if not a knee, a word. Speak, Sergeant, for king and country intertwined." The crowd inhaled collectively. waiting for the dam to break. Alex's jaw tightened, a flicker in his eyes. The only betrayal, Marco's voice echoed one last time. Stand tall. The moment teetered, history on a razor's edge. The amphitheater seemed to shrink, the world narrowing to the black mat, and the two men locked in silent standoff. King Charles's face, usually a canvas of practiced serenity, cracked with a flicker of frustration, eyebrows knitting like storm clouds over the temps. Speak, man, a word for the alliance, for the blood we've mingled from the S to Saigon. His voice rose just a notch, that Oxford polish fraying at the edges, carrying across the stones like a clarion call gone astray. The press corps surged forward, shutters worrying like distant machine guns. Elena Hayes's hand twitched toward her radio, but she held. Diplomacy's tightrope demanded grace under this particular fire. Then, for the first time in hours, Alex Rivera moved. Not a flinch, not a bow, but a deliberate pivot, rifle shifting in his grip with the precision of a safecracker. His eyes, those unyielding obsidian pools, finally met the king's. The crowd gasped softly, a collective intake like wind through Arlington's oaks. Harlan Thompson bolted upright, cane forgotten. Hot damn, he breathed. Jake's mouth hung open, Sarah clutching his shoulder. The vets nearby straightened as one, hands drifting toward brows and instinctive salutes. Alex drew a deep, steady breath, the kind that steels a man for testimony. His voice, when it came, was pure Texas border grit, low and even, laced with the faint lilting of El Paso evenings. Your Majesty, he said, each word measured like rounds in a clip. This badge don't kneel to crowns, it stands for the unknowns, the brothers and sisters without graves or glory. From Bunker Hill to Fallujah, we built this nation on flat ground, no high horses, no low bows, just Americans shoulder to shoulder. And if that's the bridge you seek, sir, we cross it standing tall. The words landed like artillery, clean, concussive, reshaping the air. Silence crashed in after, profound and reverent, broken only by the rustle of leaves and a single camera beep in the distance. Charles blinked once, twice, his royal facade slipping to reveal raw astonishment, like a man who'd ordered tea and gotten thunder. By Jove, he murmured, almost to himself, that's the spirit that felts tyrants. No retort, no command, just a slow nod, the weight of centuries bowing to the moment, and then it spread wildfire through dry grass. It started with Jake Thompson, 12 years old, heart pounding like a bass drum. He shot to his feet, small hands snapping up in a salute so earnest it wobbled at the edges. For the soldier's grandpa, he stage whispered, eyes shining. Harland, tears glinting, unashamed, rose beside him. 82 years folding into a salute, crisp as boot. Damn right, kiddo, for all of them. Sarah followed, hand over heart, then the mom with a toddler who waved a tiny fist like a flag. The vets erupted in a wave, faded tattoos peeking from sleeves, voices murmuring ha-ha and serify like a low hum. It rippled outward, the Packers' dad bellowing a whoop, his wife joining with a fist pump, a cluster of schoolkids from Ohio dropping backpacks to stand ramrod straight, even a British tourist in a barber jacket, sheepish but sincere, tipping his cap. Dozens now salute, slicing the air, not in protest, but in thunderous agreement. Phone stayed down. This wasn't for likes, it was for legacy. Elena Hayes watched, chest swelling with the quiet pride of a commander who just witnessed her line hold unbreakable. She turned to the attaché, voice warm. See, sir, that's our protocol. Not scripted, felt. Charles stood transfixed, the amphitheater transforming around him into a sea of raised hands and squared shoulders. His aides exchanged glances, one whispering, "Sir, the motorcade," but he silenced them with a raised palm. For a man who'd opened Parliament in buried Queens, this was revelation, raw, unpolished, electric. He stepped back from the rope, not in retreat, but revelation. "Sergeant Rivera," he said, voice steadying into that timbre that had steadied nations. "You've schooled me today. In palaces, we perform fealty. Here you live it. No grand gestures needed when the stand itself roars." He extended a hand, not for a shake, protocol be damned, but a clasp over the rope, firm and fleeting. Alex met it halfway, grip like tempered steel. "Honor to stand with you, sir. Allies to the end." The contact lingered a beat, electric as a live wire, then broke. Charles turned to the crowd, that royal smile, blooming genuine now, crinkles at the eyes like sunlight on the mall. "Ladies and gentlemen of America," he called, voice carrying clear, "I've come from windswept moors to your marble halls seeking Bayanu, and in this guardian, Sergeant Rivera, I found it, not in knees bent, but back straight, to your unknowns and to the fire that forges such men. God bless them, and God bless this enduring friendship." A cheer broke then, not wild but deep. rolling like thunder over the Patriotism, salutes held high, voices blending in a patchwork of here, in USA. Jake whooped outright, Harlan chuckling through misty eyes. That's how you seal a deal, Your Majesty. No fine print. Elena signaled the relief. Another guard stepping in, seamless, the ritual resuming like clockwork. But the air hummed different now, charged with something unbreakable. Charles lingered a moment, watching Alex hand off the rifle, then nodded to Elena. Colonel, you have a regiment of lions here. Tell your president the lion and the eagle soar together. She saluted sharp. We'll pass it on, sir. Safe travels back to the fog. As the royal entourage retreated to the SUVs, the crowd didn't disperse. They lingered, sharing stories. Harlan regaling Jake with a jama. Whispers. The vets swapping toast with the British stragglers. Your boy's got grit, one said to a Union Jack waver. Aye, and yours has grace, came the reply. Laughter bridged the gap, easy as apple pie and tea. Alex, off post now, leaned against a pillar, helmet under arm, letting the adrenaline ebb. Marco's photo felt heavier in his pocket, a talisman. We did it, bro, he thought, stood for the stand. Across the way, Jake broke free and scampered over, Harlan trailing. Mister, that was awesome, like Captain America but real. Alex ruffled the kid's hair, grinning faint. Nah, kid, just doing my job. Your grandpa there, he's the real captain. Harlan extended a hand grip, vice strong. Son, you made this old dog proud, reminded me why we crossed oceans, not for bows but for brothers. Alex nodded, throat tight. Sir, or whatever branch you're repping. Harlan barked a laugh. Army through and through, but today we're all one. As the sun dipped lower, painting the tomb in gold, the amphitheater emptied, slow echoes of salutes fading into the Virginia hills. But the moment, it stuck, viral as a prairie fire, clips hitting feeds from DC to Dallas. Comments flooded. That's America, unbent, unbroken. King got a masterclass in grit. Charles's own post later that night. A humbling honor at Arlington, to stand with sentinels who teach kings to stand taller. And in the quiet that followed, Arlington breathed easy again. Duty done, line held. The motorcade's taillights faded down the winding road, swallowed by the golden haze of dusk, leaving Arlington to its eternal vigil. Sergeant Alex Rivera watched from the amphitheater steps, the chills settling into his bones like an old friend. The crowd thinned to stragglers, families bundling coats, vets lingering over one last salute to the tomb. Jake Thompson waved furiously from afar, Harlan's arm around his shoulders, Sarah snapping a photo, not of the king, but of Alex silhouetted against the marble. We'll be telling this one at Thanksgiving, Harlan called out. Alex raised a hand, a quiet Roger, that lost to the wind. Inside, the fire Marco lit still smoldered, proof that one stand could steady 1,000 souls. Colonel Elena Hayes approached, her stride purposeful but soft, clipboard tucked away like a sheath sword. You handled that like a pro, Rivera. Brass is buzzing. Pentagon's already fielding calls from London. Unforgettable exchange, or they're calling it. Alex shrugged, modest as the desert dawn. Wasn't about the show, ma'am. Just the oath. She clapped his shoulder, eyes warm with the shared language of service. That's why it worked. Kings learn from that. Hell, we all do. She paused, glancing at the tomb where the relief guard paced flawless. Your brother's watching. You know, smiling ear to ear. Alex nodded, the words landing gentle. Hope so. Owe him every step. Word of the encounter spread like ripples on the PTOAC. By evening, it was trending. Shock Arlington stand, clips edited with slow-mo salutes and heartfelt voiceovers. Pundits on cable dissected it. A teachable moment in transatlantic ties. One anchor drawled. No drama, just dignity. Even across the Atlantic, the Times ran a piece when an American guard schooled a king and won his respect. Charles, back at Blair House, penned a private note to the president. Your sentinel reminded me. True sovereignty lies in the steadfast, not the spectacular. No fanfare, just quiet accord. For Alex, the night unwound in barracks routine. Gear check, a hot meal of Emmy chili mac that tasted like victory. Then bunk with the ghosts. Marco's photo on the locker. That grin, eternal. We stood, Hermono, for the unknowns. For us, sleep came easy, dreamless. The rhythm of boots on mat echoing in his pulse. And in Kansas, the Thompsons piled into their rental. Jake chattering non-stop. Grandpa, when I grow up, I'm going to be a guard like him. No kneeling. Harlan chuckled, patting the boy's knee. That's the dream, Jake. But remember, it's not the uniform. It's the man inside. Sarah smiled from the wheel. Or woman. Don't sell a short. The car hummed toward the Beltway. Arlington shrinking in the rear view. but the lesson riding shotgun. In the end, that October afternoon wasn't about crowds clashing or crowds cheering. It was a reminder etched in marble and memory at Arlington. Power isn't demanded, it's defended one unyielding step at a time. America and allies like Britain, we differ in our dances, but damn if we don't sync on the beat of freedom. So next time you're stateside, wandering those hallowed grounds, listen close to the footfalls, feel the weight, and ask yourself, in the face of history's heavy hand, how will you stand? Thanks for riding along this tale. Share it if it stirred something fierce in you. Until next time, keep standing tall,